everybody. Welcome to the Light Gate. We're coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast. We're on Facebook, we're on Roku, we're on Rumble, and we are on YouTube. I would like to thank our sponsors, Carnation. You've been with us for a couple years. We love you guys. I have now become a coffee creamer addict with this stuff. I won't use anything else. I love it. Thank you. All right. There are a couple things I want to say before I hand over to Preston. We were in Canada this last week. That's why we had a pre-record last week. And we got to meet with Chris Ramsey of Area 52. I just want to tell him and Thalia, thank you very, very much. They pampered us. They were treated us like royalty. They have an excellent, beautiful studios there. Incredible work that he is doing there. It's amazing. And we had a really good time. We also got to work with Whitley Strieber, who was there also. And that turned out to be fantastic. I want you all to be ready for those episodes. They're coming up quickly. And we've got merch. So I want y'all to check this place out. It's Area 52. He's going on the road and he's going to be doing cities. I want you to go to his channel and look in the where he has all his stuff out there on the bottom in the credits and stuff like that. And if he comes to your city, you really need to go see Chris. You really, really do. He's got a good crew working with him. He's got some co-hosts. It's going to be a really good show together. It's going to be live. And I just really want you to try it out. Please do. He is more than up and coming. He's been at this for 12 years. He is there. Okay, Preston, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. Go.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was all kinds of fun. Thanks, I think, in part to you guys for suggesting us to get on his show. We absolutely had a blast. He gave us a little magic show, too, and really put my jaw on the floor. That guy has a talent that I have never seen anyone do before. I mean, seriously, I couldn't figure out anything that he did. I think I maybe figured out one, but no, I think he actually does real magic, honestly. That's how good he is. But yeah, all kinds of fun. That's why we, as Dolly said, did a pre-record. We really wanted to get into chat, but we just weren't able to. But I do hope you enjoyed that episode we had with Simon Bone, talking about his new book, Aspects of Alien Abduction. What a lovely man. This looks like a really good book. Check it out. Also, if you haven't gotten a chance to check out Dolly on Gaia, I think most of your episodes are out by now. Is that right?
All four. Yep.
All four. So check that out as well. And still working hard on my own channel, getting everything translated into all the subtitles of the 170 different languages. Yeah. Got all my YouTube episodes, and I'm pretty much done with the Light Gate. So for those of you who speak a foreign language, you will find the subtitles ready-made there for you. All you have to do is click on them. All right, I think that's it on the announcements. Let me just say a quick hello. Oh, hold on a second. I haven't actually introduced the show. Welcome to the Light Gate, episode 159. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Saffron. Subject of the book Symmetry. We're working on the sequel, and I'm getting closer each day to getting that done. That's now become a very high priority because it's been too long. So please stay tuned for that. And we are very excited about our guest tonight. This is at least his fourth or fifth time. I've lost count, but we're super excited. He always has new and interesting information. But before I get to him, let me just say a very quick hello to you guys in chat. We love you so much. I am going to be pretty quick because I do want to get to our guest, but let's see who we got going on. We have Teresa Levine. Glad you could join us. Bark Bark and Scarlet Fire. Oh, we can always be here.
Yep.
And, yep, that's our guest, researcher, experiencer, hypnotherapist Martin Rivera. We have Cherie and Kaleidoscope.
Hello, Kaleidoscope. Happy Tennessee.
The lovely Louise and Jay Kirshenman. Namaste. We love you so much. Thank you for your endless generosity. We don't know how you do it, but It's absolutely awesome. Hello, the Elmo Man. Still 87 degrees.
Yeah, man. Ooh,
Oh, that's warm.
holy cow.
83 in Southwest Virginia.
We
We're
only
just finally
78.
getting out of the cold
Yeah.
spell. It's now quite nice here. But quite a few other people here. We have Sharon Comorn. Hello.
Oh, nice.
Stargazer and John Lanigan and Olivia Escamilla. Nice full house. Thank you, guys. This is awesome. Max Meeks. We have
Yeah.
Patsy. Nyla Esme. We have SV Harkin. We have Aussie Angie.
Aussie. Hey.
Ryan W. and Scott Wilkinson. So nice to catch you live again. Love you guys. Oh, much love to you, Scott. I'm glad you could make it. Lunar Dove. Very cool. MDH. Nice full house. Randy Terrell.
Cool.
RC Metasparks. All right. Really got to get started real fast. The last few here, Dolly. Little Wave 2, Super Tinker, Kiara Jade. Jed, our lovely former guest. We're going to bring you back, Jed, as soon as we can.
Yes.
Looking at your brand new book. Looks amazing.
Like expect a phone call or an email tomorrow.
Okay, Becky Sloan. Wow. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you, Becky.
Really awesome.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Super Tinker woke up to a couple of inches of snow.
Oh.
No, sure is.
Where are you?
Yes, it is.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, we best get started. All right. Our guest. We absolutely love our guest. He is absolutely amazing. Just a true, honest to God light in this world. And he is, of course, Martin Rivera. He is a researcher, an experiencer, a quantum hypnotherapist. He's going to be talking about what exactly QHHT hypnotherapy is. But briefly, this is a technique first developed by highly regarded author researcher Dolores Cannon. Martin has been studying the subject of UFOs and ETs for many years and uses QHHT hypnosis to help experiencers remember and process their otherworldly encounters and other past lives and all kinds of stuff. He is certified in quantum healing hypnosis and past lives at the Dolores Cannon Academy in Arkansas and is the co-founder of Quantum Balance, a healing arts center with transformational programs based in Long Island, New York. He does past life regression therapy, and actually sometimes this leads to a future life, as well as sound and light healing, emotional healing therapy, pineal gland activation, connecting with your higher self, meeting your spirit guides, accessing your Akashic Records, and Reiki healing. He's fluent in Spanish. He's translated a number of books into Spanish, including Dolores Cannons, The Custodians, and Keepers of the Gardens, and many others. He has worked with many people, authors, and experiencers, aiding them in their journey of spiritual discovery. And as he says, I help you to connect with your higher self for healing of mind, body, and spirit. Many people recall past lives reaching all the way back to Atlantis or Lemuria, or even a past life as an ET. Others recall ET encounters as young children. Of course, the possibilities are just about endless. And of course, Martin has had many astounding experiences of his own. So we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Let me bring on our lovely guest.
Martin.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much for having me again. I'm so excited.
Oh, we know how much, you know how much we love you. You're one of our frequent flyers. So it's absolutely a pleasure to have you back. We always get a wonderful response. I think the work you're doing is really important. You're on my very, very, very short list of people I recommend who are seeking hypnosis.
Thank you so much.
It's just you, Debs Shakti, and Yvonne Smith. That's it.
Wow. So I'm very privileged about that. Thank you so much. Really
I'm looking for others because people always can't travel, but
right.
Yeah. So much to talk about. But for people who are meeting you here for the first time, because our audience is growing, why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in this field?
Yeah. Well, my name is Martin Rivera. I was born in Mexico. I immigrated to the U.S. And really, I came to this, field of past life regression hypnotherapy, really from seeking answers and even on myself, because I really had a tough time in my teenagehood, I was suffering from, depression and some other physical issues, and then that kind of like destiny brought me forward, to looking for the conventional, medical system. I wasn't getting, good really. And then I started getting to this field, into metaphysics and to go into, meditation and other, alternative, practices really. And sure enough, when I found Dolores Cannon and her technique of past life regression that connects you also with your higher self or source, that's when my life took 180 degrees.
Yes.
So, and of course, healing was on myself, and that was the whole key of all of this. Because once I understood my life purpose and my lessons to be, master it, then I was able to do this job that I do, because most of the time I'm helping people really, but most of all, I had to help myself first.
Yes.
In order to help others.
Yes. There's an old saying, physician, heal thyself. And it's very true. You can't help others until you're well yourself.
Exactly. Yes.
And we are all a type of physician, all of us. We all have the ability to help one another. And that's
exactly.
Yeah, yes. I think that's very wise. The best thing you can do to help others is first help yourself.
Exactly.
It's like in the plane, we've taken a few flights. They always say, make sure you have your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how many people come in like that, it's like, oh yeah, I want to help others. How about yourself, first of all? And they're like, really? Yes. Otherwise, because you have to find your own balance, in life, and really enjoy happiness, because that's what our main purpose in life is: become happy, but happy from within.
Totally agree. Yeah, which is why I always end my shows with keep having fun.
Exactly. Yes.
That's my kind of sign off.
Exactly.
Because I think you're absolutely right. We're here to experience joy.
Yes.
And wisdom, I think.
And other challenges, of course.
It has wisdom in it. It's incorporated. It's part of it.
Exactly. Yes, it is, Dolly. Yeah. And we have many experiences of that's what we call the past lives, in the linear way of human thinking. Yeah, we call it past life. But in the higher consciousness or soul aspect, they don't look as a linear time. They look at everything that is happening at the same time, and everything's connected. So I was like, wow.
So you're based in the New York area?
Yes, I'm actually in Long Island, really. It's like probably like an hour and a half from New York City. But I have my office very close to the JFK airport. It's like half an hour from it. Oh, wow. So I have people coming from, from California, Florida, Ohio, Kentucky, all over the States. Okay. Even I had my client from Spain like a couple of months ago.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. You placed yourself well for this. That's amazing,
Yeah, very grateful for it,
So this work keeps you pretty busy then, huh?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I do sessions, not hypnosis, but like I said, like you mentioned in my introduction, thank you very much, the emotional release therapy, which is another type of therapy that could be done over, at a distance through Zoom, Zoom calls. Yeah. So that's another kind of that I do.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask, do you do remote sessions? So I guess
even workshops I do remotely too, and that's that's not really like very deep hypnosis. No, it's like a light level. But still, people can, really find information, it could be mind-blowing too. I had some mind-blowing sessions, at the distance. So I was like very surprised. It all depends about how prepared the people is, if they really do meditate, because that's one of my protocols. When I teach them to how to meditate, to go into this inner state of peace, and the ego mind doesn't interfere in your fears, your doubts, your expectations, none of that, So once you go into that, quiet place of, because you feel protected, cared, and loved by source, there's nothing to worry about. That's when we start making that connection to the higher self or source,
Wonderful. Yeah. All right. So why don't you just start by explaining, how you learned hypnosis, what exactly is QHHT as opposed to other forms of hypnosis.
Right.
Let's just dive deep into this, because there's a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
they can make you quack like a chicken and all.
No.
Stage hypnosis.
No, that's entertainment hypnosis, really. That's part of the that's another part of the mind that we don't go into it. Where we really go, it's the part of our minds that synchronize the both hemispheres, the left and right, and then that makes the connection. Guess what? It's not from the brain; it's from the heart, because the heart has a network of neurons, a different type of neurons, and that's when, like I said, when there's no fear, there's no distraction from the mind, and you are really engaged, with confidence and love and care. That's when you make the connection, and that's when sometimes miracles happens, But then, this type of hypnosis was, like you said before, developed by the late Dolores Cannon, that she, did a 45-year career and wrote over 22 books about it, everything about, whatever she found of many topics. She really was ahead of her time, really, and then the technique is about, once going to that, like I said, that quiet and inner peace state of mind, then that's when we make that connection. But guess what? This type of hypnosis, we don't select the past life. It's not like, okay, let's go into your last life, or let's go into this century. Who really directs the session is higher self or source.
Right.
And because sometimes that's what, when people go into this state and we go into this under hypnosis, like I said, source selects the most appropriate time for the person, depends on their, either emotional, mind, or physically state.
Yeah. You know what's interesting to me that you stated is that your heart is where all that is occurring. And it's absolutely true, because your consciousness doesn't float around your body. It's in you. And the seat of all consciousness, your consciousness, is actually in your heart. They know that. Science has actually figured that one out. Okay. Yes. And it's true. Yeah. And your consciousness, the seat of consciousness, is in contact constantly with source, because you're connected to it, just like you're connected to your mother through your umbilical cord.
Right.
Consciousness is connected to source by your tether. You have a tether, and that's where that's going. There's two of them. There's one from your astral body, okay, and then there's another one from your heart that goes straight to source, and it's an open channel.
Thank you for putting it that way, Dolly.
So I guess what you're saying in a nutshell is that hypnosis is a way to connect to source and bypass what you call the ego mind. I think
exactly.
What you call sort of the physical mind.
Yes, thing. The physical mind has a great big ego.
Exactly. He always pretends to know everything, question, analyze everything. That's how we, we've been educated. That's how we, programmed into this society. So exactly, bypass that part of that childish mind, So, and then here's the magical part. Some people, source, show them one or two or three, either past lives, either parallel lives, other timelines, or some of the future lives, or
That
sometimes other kind of life that is not really known for humans. But some reason, for some reason, source determines to show the persons so they can, understand the present, or either for healing, for understanding, or to move forward, and to remind them what was the true purpose in life. And of course, the lesson too. One or two lessons, they had to master it, So that really ran that up, your session. Also, we ask clients to bring their own questions, whether either conflicts, accidents, of course, your health, or third parties, such as, people who really transcend, even pets, present or they're really past already. So it doesn't matter, because, and source can determine whether it's, is appropriate for you to know or not, So many of my colleagues, they might say, okay, you only bring 30 questions as an average, 25, 30. I say, no, you can bring whatever, because sometimes we don't know what's the most important questions for you to know at the time, So
Yeah.
that's one of my questions to source. Is there any question that, let's say, Dolly forgot to bring in this session, so she must know this time?
Mhm.
And I will bring
I
it
like
up.
that. Yeah. I kind of use that technique sometimes when I'm astral traveling, because usually I have a plan, like I want to go here or I want to go there. Sometimes I'll just say, take me where you think
Exactly.
I need to go.
Yes.
Or take me to the experience that I need most
Where's the
now.
lesson?
Exactly. Yes, it is very
I gotta
similar.
learn today. Yeah.
See?
Yep.
So
Which
that-
always turns out to be really interesting, by the way.
exactly, yeah. And also we had this conversation after, people, we explore the life with them. We always, in every past life, we go into either 3 important days of that life, and even at the last day of that life, like the death scene. Some people might see it, some people, won't. Even though I always ask, what did you show him in the last, the death scene? What is most relevant? Why did you show him? Or the contrary, why didn't you show it to her or him? So we always got an answer for it, For some people, yes, it will be important to see that last day, and it could be either, a quiet, goodbye, elderly, or could be a really, an accident, or could be execution. It doesn't matter. For some reason, they have to see it, So source determines that. I'm going to give an example of it. I had this guy, when we started going to this past life, he started telling him about he was getting choked. He's like, I can't breathe. And I was like, we had the technique where, okay, you can step back and look at the distance with no pain or suffering.
Right.
Now you can tell me what's going on. And guess what? That moment, the soul steps out, or your astral body steps out. And even though the body is like complaining or suffering, he doesn't feel any pain. And now he can see the scene now. I experienced myself too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He shot in the head, and I was able to see it, the distance.
Yeah. I remember my last life, and I mean, I really, really remember my last life. And when I passed, I was walking in the hallway. I just had a shower, and I was going to my room, and I had a mirror and a makeup bag and a brush in my hand. And I literally walked right out of my own body, and my body fell to the floor.
Exactly.
And I watched it hit, and I looked down, and I was like, oh crap. Because I knew I didn't pay attention.
Right.
Earlier that day, I had the beginning of an MI, and I knew I was in trouble. And I just put it on my mind. I said, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be better. This is just a little thing. It was not little. I stopped being alive. And I brought that, I brought everything I wanted to do with me in that life into this one, personal things.
Right.
And very clearly, because that's the last things that I had going through my head as I'm looking at myself on the floor.
Right.
Oh, damn, I didn't do what I really wanted to do.
It's very spontaneous, isn't it?
Right. And I wasn't mad. I was just it was sad, because I was like 41 when I passed.
Wow.
And so when I came into this life, I was actually trying to relive that life somehow a little bit. I drove my mother crazy, because I was speaking another language to her all the time, and I was singing to her all the time. And she's like, what the hell is going on? What are you doing? And it took me a while to walk through what it was. And I accomplished everything that I didn't do in that life, in this life. And then made some more mistakes on my own anyway.
Well,
I made new ones. Yeah. And but it alerted me to the fact that whatever I have to finish before I leave here, I must finish. That was a great thing to remember to do.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
I think actually, I've heard this. I don't know if it's true, but that death, of course, can be difficult, but it's a simple transition. It's really a very healing event. But birth is far more traumatic.
It is.
You basically have to regain that connection to source.
Right. Even I had some clients, they go into the womb of the mother. Even myself, I had a session like that.
Oh, wow.
I was in the womb of my mother when actually my parents were arguing, each other. My father was like screaming and yelling because they were fighting, So I
Yeah.
was probably 6 months in the womb, right? But I was hearing and feeling everything, and I was inside, and then I was again like a little camera in the room, and I was able to see my mom, the kind of dress, her hairstyle, even my father, and when that was in a retreat in California, and when I get back home, like a couple days later, I called my mother and was like, do you have this kind of dress, like color, the print? And her hair was like the classical 70s, kind of like afro,
Mhm.
and she was like surprised. She was like, how do you know?
Wow, I'm so glad you asked that. Verifying the details when you can,
Exactly.
so important.
Because your logical mind goes like, did I made it up? Did I just like it was like an illusion in my head? Because that's the typical questions from when you start doing this kind of sessions or trips like you do in yourself,
Right.
Preston. The astral body experiences. Sometimes you question yourself because you're not getting used to. So I called my mother, and the thing was, she started crying. It's like, how do you know this? And she
Wow.
just started crying.
So before you actually started working with other people, you experienced hypnosis yourself.
You have to go through the process, otherwise you can do this. It's not like you study it and do it with other people. No, it's part of the graduation. You must go through it.
Oh,
That's
I love
really
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Nurses and doctors have things they have to go through. You can't just treat somebody. The protocols while you're in training, like nurses have to learn how to stick, for blood and stuff like that. All the different procedures we have to do, and we're all guinea pigs. Yeah.
It's like that in the military too, right? You have to have what do they call it when they shock you? A taser.
Yeah, taser.
Yes, like you teach you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I got tased in the
yeah.
military, yeah. I'm proud of myself. I didn't lose my bladder. I actually,
So what was it like for you, Martin, for going under hypnosis for the first time?
Oh boy,
it was surprising. Did it surprise you in any way? Like, oh, this is different than I thought. You know what I mean?
I had no expectation, even though I studied and listened to many sessions, and of course, but once you get through, it's a different story, And then it was very surprising. It's nothing that you can always expect. That's why I always, tell people, do not expect anything. Do not put in your mind, oh, they're going to show me a life in ancient Egypt. Then they show me a different kind of life. Don't put any expectations. Source has the wisdom of the universe. So there's a reason, in part of this, what I really wanted to tell you is like, after the people experiences their past lives, we had this conversation with source. And the first question is the protocol. Why do you show in this life? What is the reason? How is related to this present time? So when going back into, when I experience it, it's like you feel like you can, sometimes your consciousness is aware, and then sometimes it's like you're falling asleep.
So you don't remember?
Yeah, that happens during hypnosis. I've seen that actually happen. I was with a patient once who was being hypnotized for reasons, and they actually fell asleep. They started snoring. And I was like, okay, they're asleep. And we had to like gently bring them back up into consciousness again. Right. And luckily they were still kind of there. So we restabilized the session, and then they went on. Right. And one time somebody fell asleep and they refused to wake up. They were done, just done. And
resting,
leave them alone, let them sleep.
Some position could be like that, because they need that rest. You don't know what's going on in the stress level in their minds.
Right. And they finally get a chance to actually go into some really deep sleep, and it's
exactly shut them down. And guess what? Sometimes healing takes place.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I know in Betty and Barney Hill, of course, who we all know,
right,
being the first real case of a UFO onboard experience. They did use hypnosis, but Dr. Benjamin Simon put them so deep, gave them the suggestion, you will not remember any of this. And they didn't. And then he played the tapes for them, and they were absolutely shocked to hear themselves saying these things. So would that be more the exception than the rule? Do people remember?
No, we don't suggest to know. To the contrary, we suggest them, take whatever whatever you need at this time for healing, for upgrade, to improve your life, really. Whatever it was. And you know what? The whole session is like, yes, it's recorded, and we always recommend the clients to listen to it, because sometimes a download happens afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's very important, the recording, because now you have your recommendations, you have the advice, you have your message, and sometimes the healing too. Sometimes sources, she or he needs to keep hearing the session for certain amount of time, and was like, why? Oh, because she will understand this, she will heal that, and on and on. So it's very important.
It's almost like OBEing, Martin, because when you're OBE, you're in contact with your own consciousness. It is you. And when you're on the other side, that's why we tell people you need a pad of paper and a pencil, and please write everything down. Don't lose it. Don't come out of it not knowing what the heck went on.
Right.
It's important that you are staying in contact with your own consciousness. And hypnotism is interesting to me because you actually bring them into that state, lucidity and consciousness in a safe place. Because they're so fearful in the beginning, they learn to lose the fear because they're controlled and safe,
Yes.
And it's only fair to let them remember, because it takes the edge off. I always I believe this. Fear is what you don't know.
Exactly.
And if you tell people to forget, you're not helping them at all.
Right. Yeah. And, and part of my protocol too is like, I don't take people on the same day to put them under hypnosis. No, there's a protocol where we teach you to meditate, and I call this like a workshop activation of pineal gland. And then it's like a certain amount, 8 to 12 weeks of practicing self-meditation. But also, some people, even from the first day when I do this workshop, they have visuals or OBEs. All right.
Yeah. Thank you. You made a point.
Or even the course of this practice of self-meditation, they start seeing visuals and other revelations. So I tell them exactly, write it down. Do not look for a meaning in Google. Do not Google it. Just write it down. And then when we go into the session, talking to source, we ask, why did this she was seeing these visuals? What does it mean? On and on. So that brings the truth.
I love that. See, one of the questions I was going to ask you is, how many of your clients actually tell you, what, I've started OBEing because of all of this,
Many.
Yeah. And they learn to calm down and listen to themselves, their true selves, and to shut the cranium up,
Even a few after the session, they start developing a psych skill.
Yes.
Even from telepathy.
Yep.
Not yet from telekinesis yet, but channeling, of course, that's one of the common trends, or the common nuances. People start channeling their own information. Of course, there's one of the questions like, where and when and how can you start the communication or the communion with you, meaning source? That's one of the main or protocol questions for the client, when we're talking to source. And source will say, okay, it will be in the park, it'll be in the quiet place, when you rest, and on and on and on. And you could say this word, or you could say this other word.
Yep.
Well,
sometimes I meditate times of the day, even like I'll be cooking and I'll be meditating while I'm cooking. I'll just drop all distractions and just concentrate on doing what I know how to do without even thinking about it. And I meditate at the same time.
Yeah, you can come like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you used the term source, because this can be a controversial term, whether you call it God or source, the spirit which moves through all things, or Jesus, or what have you. It's so interesting to me because people will have an encounter and they will start experiencing psychic events.
Right.
They will start going out of body. People have a near-death experience will start having this. But hypnosis is another avenue to connecting to source and opening all of this up. I was just looking into a case actually it occurred in Wyoming, where a lady and her husband had a missing time encounter. And she came from Florida and went to Florida, a MUFON meeting, because she wanted to connect with people who were having encounters. And she met Dr. Dan C. Overlaid, PhD who's one of the first to start using hypnosis.
Mhm.
And it's like, listen, I've got too many clients. I cannot help you right now. But he suggested to her meditation, self-hypnosis, gave her a technique.
Right.
And it worked for her. She remembered on her own.
Right.
So I'm really glad to hear that you start by teaching people meditation.
Yes.
It just opens it up for you and
exactly.
make the whole session so much more successful.
Yeah, that's one of the common recommendations from source. Keep meditating, because actually if you wonder how many times you have to come for this kind of hypnosis,
That's it.
55% only one session. The other 35% a second session, and it tells you when exactly, even for months, even a year. Her clients, so sometimes she has to come back for a year, or when she's ready, or when she does this, understand this, now she can, or he can come back again. But it's only 1 or 2 sessions, really.
Yeah. Gerard makes a really interesting point. I think we could all do with a hypnosis session. So do people come to you? I mean, most, I'm assuming, have a pressing issue of some kind.
Exactly. Yes, that's the main reason. Yes.
But would you say that a hypnosis session would be a good idea for just anybody to even try, just for, I don't want to say fun, but just to
curiosity? Yeah.
To experience it and connect with source.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't know how much is moving behind the scenes, and we're more than this physical body.
You can self-hypnotize once you learn how to do this. And meditation is literally the process of going into self-hypnosis.
Exactly.
All hypnosis means isn't a really big deal. It's you calming the body, calming the mind, and allowing your true consciousness to start speaking to you. And you can hear it. One of the things I say is you got to learn how to shut up so you can hear what's really going on around you. It's the first psychic ability there is. It's intuitive.
Right.
Hypnosis is learning to channel, or this is the only time I ever use this word, channel, into being awake, fully conscious awake from being on. And once you learn to do it, you find that you're seeking to be in that state 24/7, that people learn, oh my goodness, I am really psychic when I'm in this condition. And they learn to butt everything out and allow it to come in, and they start developing abilities. I mean, it's like an exercise. And I love the fact that QHHT teaches you this.
Yes. Okay, well, maybe that would be a good reason. I'm coming just to develop my psychic abilities, which would be effective.
Which is a big doorway. Okay, you're going to hear.
I just want to give a shout out to the folks in chat. I'm seeing your questions. If you do have any questions, please ask them. I'm putting stars next to them. We'll get to them. Some really good questions here. Yes, this is going to be fun. So thank you for bringing in the questions, guys. So here's my question, Martin. Has anyone had an OBE during the hypnosis session?
Even before, like I said, in the protocol with pineal gland. I tell you, I don't know which one would be mind-blowing for it. Okay. The two of them were mind-blowing, but okay, I'm going to tell you this one. This one, he was from Spain. Think about it, just like we're doing right now. You guys in down south, right? I mean, in New York, she was in Spain, right? And then while we're doing because I use the sound bowls, I use like 5 different frequencies, kind of like a binaural beats, but more organically, because it's quartz, the quartz, so they have these is frequencies, So I put them under, it's kind of like it's kind of like a guided meditation, exactly like one of the sound bowls, and then I guide you through just to relax your body and your mind. Then there's a moment where I'm not talking at all, and I'm just playing the samples, right? Guess what happened during the session when I quiet? I didn't say anything. I just keep playing the samples. She just kind of like look at me. It was like, "Did you stop playing the balls?" I was like, "Just don't worry. Just keep just close your eyes, And she was like, "Okay." And then when I wake her up, like minutes later, she's like, "You know what? I went to this ship and I was at this table, right? I had these 3 quartz or crystals, really, like in forming a pyramid, And then somehow everything started vibrating, and she told me, I couldn't hear your voice, I couldn't hear the sound balls. That's when she goes, that's why I was asking you, did you stop playing? Is something wrong with it?
Oh, she was in the vibratory
She
state.
was
wow.
having a breaking
Getting
down,
ready to break through, yeah.
you know.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, she heard a voice like, "No, we shut down Martin's frequencies because they are interfering with these crystals." Because she was having healing in the
Oh, wow.
meantime. Then all of a sudden, she told me, everything was done just for a few seconds, and she saw the beings. They were like light beings, But when she standed up, she saw like a mirror effect in a part of the ship, and she saw herself, the body, as them. She was part of them. And then they give like a tour on the ship. She looked Earth at the distance, and part of the galaxy. She told me everything was crystal clear, and they explained about what was going on. Why did they do this procedure to her? Because they told her about the Earth changes, the frequencies are changing on Earth, and our bodies are they need to be adjusted. So that's what they were doing to her. They were adjusting her frequency so she doesn't have any aches or any discomforts or whatnot.
Your frequency, your body emits a frequency. Okay?
Exactly. Yes.
The brain has a frequency that it emits when you're thinking, but all the stuff in your body kind of follow that frequency. It's right. It's you singing. All your cells sing together, and
right.
All your organs have a frequency. Everything.
Yes.
And since we're going through what we're going through this time period, it's messing with us. Okay. And one of the things that ET has been doing for the last 80 years is helping us heal. Because we're being attacked by these incoming, energies from the sun because our magnetosphere is down. Right, and they've been holding people up. People think that they're getting medical tests or, or they're guinea pigs of some sort. No, they're not. They've literally been holding us up, and they use light technology, and all light is frequency. Okay. Right. Yeah. And they have been doing that. And if, people say, well, you say they're not here right now. No, they're not. But that doesn't mean you can't go to them. Exactly. That you can OBE to them, and they can send what you need through your astral body to you. Here, they make the connection with you. And that's cool that you're getting people who are telling you that. That's really cool to me.
Well, that session, you said something that I thought was really important, that she felt like she was one with them.
Yes.
Yes. Brings that point together. With the ETs keep saying it over and over again. We are you. You are us. We are one.
Yeah. So and of course I had other sessions where people had showing as extraterrestrials living in another planet, another system, other galaxies, really. So it is.
We're not that far apart. We're so connected. It's like it's there's no time. Okay, there's no distance. Okay.
Yep.
We're living in something that makes us think that, but it's not true. We're literally interdimensional beings ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. So we're on top of them, and they're on top of us interdimensionally. We're all together.
We're all interconnected, really.
And there's no time and there's no distance in the connection. And I keep telling people that it's like you really are sitting in something in a soup bowl with all this stuff, and all you have to do is let it happen. Use your abilities, get there, open it up, let yourself feel this because it's real. It's there.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. So it happens. It happens, like I say, in the first workshop, the activation of pineal gland, or during the time where they are, practicing self-meditation. So it could happen anytime, or sometimes these dreams come through, and sometimes they could be a past life, it could be a parallel life, it could be a message from either your subconscious mind or source or your guides. That's another topic. So it could be any of them. But then
we're all here to help each other. That's right.
When someone is under hypnosis, have you ever had an occasion where they're connecting to their deceased loved ones and having a conversation?
Yes, I had those ones. So even the time I had this really case where this lady didn't ever met his grandfather, right? Because she wasn't even born yet. Her mother was 14-year old. Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And they lived through the Civil War in Central America, and the guy was killed, during the conflict, and a
Wow.
crossfire, and then she landed up at the scene where the grandfather was saying goodbye to his, mother or daughter at that time, to a daughter and other siblings that were, little, because the mother she was a 14-year-old, and her siblings were little. But guess what? They had this conversation between my client, which was a granddaughter that they never ever met. And they start, she starts speaking to her and telling her that he could not leave Earth. And he goes, why, grandfather? Because he said, your uncles think I abandoned them. And it's not. I sacrificed myself to save them. And she saw the scene when they're, she's like, I'm going to hold these people, because they were trying to invade, the crossfire between the government and the guerrillas. And they say, I'm going to distract them so you can get away with your brothers. And they say, don't worry, everything's fine. And then she looked, he told me, he looked up, she saw this, at the sky, she looked this white circle and so many souls going through.
Wow.
And they say goodbye. I say, don't worry, I'm going to tell the message to my uncles, but you're doing fine. You can go now. You can live in peace.
Yeah.
He said goodbye. And she told me he left,
Wow. He earthbound all that time because he needed to get a message across.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Like, wow. I got feels it just to remember, So yeah, it could happen. Yes. Yeah.
Which totally makes sense because you're in a kind of dissociative state, and paranormal researchers have learned long ago that there's a connection between what we call dissociation, which is, sleep or hypnosis, or an out-of-body experience, to, mediumship and paranormal abilities and all this kind of. There was a guy in France who would put people under hypnosis and have them leave their bodies.
Right.
And he would have them walk through this silver oxide screen, and it would make an image of their body. And he proved astral projection in that way.
Right.
No one's ever repeated that experience, because it's a little different. But it just goes to show how powerful hypnosis can be.
Yep, exactly. Once you feel that confidence on yourself and knowing that you're always protected by source. So none of these beliefs or entities that can attack you, attach you, or whatever. No, none of that happens. Like I say, Dolores Cannon had this 45-year career and 22 books. She never ever reports something negative.
Right.
And so we are.
100%. Yeah.
Never ever had something negative.
Yeah.
Paul talks about that often, that, we are the ones who are in charge of our own lives.
Exactly. Yes. You're the powerful being.
Exactly. And I like the term, we have all the power of the universe within us.
Yes.
So anything that comes to us is a lesson at the very best.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. And I had people when they bring their questions like, oh, did I have witchcraft on me? Someone did a job on me? And guess what? Source always says, no, none of that is true. I was like, why? So why is he or she's thinking about that? It's like, because you have the power and people give the power away.
Thank you. Absolutely. Dead on. Exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly what Source would say.
Why do you believe sees and goes and
you give permission for somebody to harm you, you allow it. You're the one allowing it. Nobody
exactly. Yes. Yep. So yeah. That's Source. That's straight from Source,
So I know a lot of people use hypnotic regression to recall missing time during a UFO encounter. Now, is there a difference between like hypnotic regression and QHHT hypnosis?
Compared to missing time?
No, I mean the technique that you would use.
Okay. Compared to the other other techniques that are out there?
I mean, is regressive hypnosis and QHHT hypnosis?
Yes, it's regressive. Actually, it means quantum healing hypnosis technique, but they sometimes they didn't say regressive or regression, because it's part of the technique. You go first into regression, like I said before, 1, 2, or 3 past lives or whatever life is shown by Source. Then the big difference among all the techniques that they are out there is we connect the subject into Source, That's a huge difference. And then we had this conversation.
see.
Remember, I'm not a channeler. I'm not a reader. I don't do interpretation. Everything comes from the people who's under hypnosis. And guess what? When source starts speaking, the voice changes.
Yep.
The
That's
accent is gone.
Yeah.
I had people from many parts of even Latin America or the US. Guess what? The accent is gone. And they start speaking differently. You know,
Yeah.
very sweet, sometimes very imperative, you know, this and that, you know. Or sometimes we have once in a while like a robotic voice, kind of like a robot, but it's only the frequency that is different from the
Yeah.
person,
I
you
know.
know.
Preston can tell the difference of when I've written something and then I've put something down that Tolada has said. He says he can hear the difference between us. He knows who's talking. And sometimes Tolada will tell me something to exactly tell Preston, you know, you need to bring this up now. And
Right.
I'm not channeling him, but he's already in my head. I can hear it. Okay.
Yeah, you made that connection.
I
Yes.
relay the message to Preston and you can hear the change. I'm speaking not with his voice exactly, but his intonation. I've got it. I'm saying it in his speak, the way he.
Right.
Yeah, the phrasing is different, the word choice,
Exactly.
the tone.
Yes, the tone, everything. Yes.
I can kind of tell.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. My sister-in-law, my brother's wife, did hypnosis years and years and years ago, and went into a trance and immediately started speaking in this thick Irish brogue,
See?
which she can't do.
Yeah.
So,
or even foreign languages too, you know, or even very ancient languages that we cannot even understand. But at the same time, we're like, I'm sorry, I don't understand you. Can you say it in the proper, whatever, in English or Spanish, what depends on the people. And yeah, they do it. You know, it's like automatically, you know, it's like, wow. But yeah, even I had a couple clients, they spoke like very weird language. I thought it was like some ancient, you know, tongue that is dead already. No, it was an alien too. So it was from another system. And I was like, what? But then, yeah, they were able to translate it right away.
wow.
That's really cool.
Voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's another question for you. When you take someone put them under hypnosis to recall a missing time UFO encounter, do they sometimes experience a lot of fear and, you know, panic and this sort of thing? Or how do you work through that?
We bypass it. There's two ways. One, yeah, we can go back. Remember, the subconscious records everything. So what we bypass the ego mind and the fears and all the emotion, and we go into the subconscious to see exactly what happened. You know, we see everything just as the fact. You know, I walk into this room. I was into this table, whatever. And this being is they describe it, editing with no fear, no suffering, nothing. Even if they're examining or doing something, just like mentioned before, the lady was vibrating. She only told me my body was vibrating. That's the only thing, you know, she remembers. That's one way. The other way is like, we call it the back door. Like, okay, we can only ask to source what exactly happened. What was the purpose of that interaction, visitation, or missing time? What exactly happened to that missing time? You know, and source will tell you, you know, oh, this is happened, this, and that. Okay, and in the following question that we always do is like, okay, how is relating to this person? Why she or he's experienced this interaction with this being? Who are these beings too? Yeah, many times we reveal the information.
Wow.
So we go to the to the core. You know, that's what I love this technique from Dolores. Even she wrote books about it back into the 80s. The Custodians, the Keepers of the Garden, when she was able to talk even to the ETs or the members of the council.
Yeah, those books are still on the bestseller list, by the way. They do pretty good.
Very deep and detailed about books, you know, the information about how she gathered all this and able to talk directly with them.
Yeah.
Now, when someone goes under hypnosis to remember a missing time UFO encounter, does the information that come out, is it fairly consistent? Is each one different? Are they remembering essentially the same things? You know what I mean? Have you been able to build a sort of idea of what happens?
It could vary. It could be, you know, I have few cases, you know, on my own, and it could be, it could be differently, you know, the interaction, you know, how they done and whatever whatever perform was on the person, or because sometimes they'll be on the room, or sometimes they will take into the ship, either two. But what we always go after is like, what is the purpose? How is related to these beings? Who are these beings? So we go, like I said, we go down into the really core of it, and the truth will reveal. And guess what? Many of the cases, like, this person, he was he was living with these beings. It's kind of like the family. Just like Dolly was saying, with Tolada and all these civilization. Yes, at the soul level, he or she was already lived on this civilization. Now he's experienced as a human, and he's doing a mission, whatever mission it is, and we ask about it. Okay, what was the purpose of it? Oh, to gather information. Okay, what is the other purpose? Okay, another case, to experience to be a human. Why? Because they want to know how we operate with emotions, how we operate with our minds, why we are so violent. One of the common trends that I've seen is like the emotions. Many of these races, they have not many variety of emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ET.
Like mine,
I will tell you this. This might give you an insight to what you're talking to me about. They try really hard to get us to look at ourselves and why we behave the way we do. Exactly. It's not necessarily that they want to know it. They already do. They know why we are the way we are, but we don't. Exactly. And so sometimes we flip the message in our heads that they're giving us, and we don't see exactly. We put it on them when it's really on us. They really want us to wake up to the fact that we have to let go, heal ourselves of our violent nature and our tendencies. And ego is at the basis of all of it. All of it. Because it makes you believe things that are not true. You become delusional, We have a lot of people on this planet who are literally walking delusionals to believe that they have the ability to control anything,
Right.
They're violent at it. And we have to conquer that as people.
But evolution, yes.
Yeah.
To overcome that, yes, that's why they always insist on. But yes, there are many other races that they're very curious about, the way we operate, because in some of the cases, even we ask them, like, how do you mind operate? Sometimes they don't even speak. They always go with telepathy.
Yeah, and that's their way of asking you to think about what you're saying and what you think.
Exactly.
Literally. Yeah, that's a psychic remedy for them, for us. I learned this growing up from them. Sometimes I would be thinking something, and they would go dead silent on me, and I'm like, "Uh-oh, what did I do?" And it's because I had something going on in my head that was not okay, and I would have to literally figure out what the heck, and then get over myself with it. And I've got the genetics of a Valkyrie. I'm a Viking, and warrior princess, if you want to really know. And I can be I can intimidate anybody when I want to. Okay, seriously, intimidate. It's not okay. It is just not okay. I had to learn my whole life. Stop. You can't fix people. You can't stop them from being idiots.
Exactly.
But you have to be respectful. You're human. You have to love them, and there are ways to do that without becoming aggressive, or hating or threatening or controlling. I mean, these are all the things in the bag of ego that we all have, and it's written into our DNA. And they're trying to get us to think about what the heck we're thinking. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? They already know why we do it. They need us to know why we do it. We need to not worry about what they think. We need to worry about what we think. That's the message. Literally, why are you doing this?
Exactly. Well, I think that's what's so effective about QHHT, and the fact that you're having a healing modality. That's the purpose of it.
Right.
But it wakes people up to all of these kind of questions.
Right. Yeah. It's like expansion of consciousness. That's what it really is, So it's
here's
an evolution.
Here's a question about past lives, because I never really gave much thought to past lives until I started having OBEs. And I started remembering a bunch of them. In fact, just today, Dolly was playing some weird sitar music, and it started to bring tears to my eyes, because I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I remember this from? And it swept me back to, I always get that weird feeling when I'm remembering a past life. I'm like, oh, I feel almost dissociated.
Mm-hmm.
But often when I've learned about a past life, I'm taken right to this horrendous death scene that's frankly frightening and really traumatic. And that's the sort of emotion I'm hanging on to in this life. So I'm wondering, when someone goes under hypnosis and they're being brought to a past life, does that come up?
Yes. Just like example, give you, the guy was like choking, and guess what?
There you go.
It's actually, that's another one. I'm sorry. This is another one that his head was getting beheaded.
Oh,
and guess what?
Joy.
His issues was with the neck, with the vertebrae. He always had complaints. And this guy was a 70-year-old, and he went for surgeries, chiropractor, all types of, medical, that he was trying to get into, to get better. He's like, I'm always complaining about, my neck and this and that. And he went to a past life when they showing he was executed. He saw the scene, and guess what?
Oof.
When I woke him up, he was like, because once I finish, I let him wake him up, I go to the bathroom, take my little break, I come back to the office, and the guy, he was already stretching, like this, and like, how do you feel? He was like, unbelievable, amazing. It's like, I don't feel anything. It's like my neck is healed.
Yeah, see?
That is wonderful.
There you go.
Because I've heard this. There's books about this where people are healed of a physical illness by recalling a past life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And nothing else worked.
Exactly. Yes. And we always ask this, so why do you show me? I was like, because it's connected. Because I remember part of that, it was one of his lessons, because he felt guilty about something in life that triggers that emotion that he didn't overcome it. That was part of his lesson.
Yeah.
So, and the explanation for sure is like, because everything is connected. And if you haven't overcome that lesson, it'll manifest it into this one for you to, to overcome it, to pass it. Really. It's like you're ready for the next level.
Right.
Like
I had a recurring memory when I was a child, not the life itself, but how I ended. Okay. And it replayed over and over and over again. And literally I was a prisoner and I was shot. And it just plagued me. And then when I guess I was about probably close to 38 years old, I had a TIA exactly in the place where I got shot.
There you go.
And I instantly knew what that was, that I was still anxious or weirded out about it. I was in a situation when it happened to me that was not unlike that situation. I felt trapped. I felt like I was a prisoner of something going on. Not true, but I had all those angst feelings coming up, and boom, I had the TIA. And I got myself help. Okay, I was in the middle of nowhere. I had to call for help. Took a person over 2 hours to get to me because there was no 911 where I was. And when they got me to the hospital, my whole left side was gone, dead, no feeling, nothing. And I was laying there while they were doing all these tests on me, and I kept thinking, this is that. I made the instant that, and I thought, I have to come back from this. I cannot allow this to ruin me. I'm not going to, I have to let that go now. I have to let it go because now I have to heal. And I got more healing than I thought I did because I'm carrying this injury right into this life. And when they came hours later, they said, we have to get you up. If we don't start moving you around, you're in trouble. They were already giving me the medicine to clear it and everything. And I was clearing it already pretty good by then. And, I said, okay. And I said, let's do this. And I worked my butt off in that hospital for 3 straight weeks, trying to get the feeling back. And I did. I got 99.999% of it back. And it took a while though, to like complete it.
Right.
And I absolutely know that that's why that happened to me. That was a life lesson that I had not finished.
Exactly. Yes.
Maybe
Agreed.
just maybe we should look at hypnosis as a real opportunity to address all manners of physical illness and give people the opportunity to, it might not heal you, but you could certainly explore the reason
Exactly.
for it, you know, like what lesson you're supposed to learn
Yes.
from this illness.
Exactly. It's not only for the medical point of view or like the mechanical way as the body, you know, medical, they see it. No, it's connected to your emotions and to your belief system. It means your mind.
Yeah.
You know, so once you become conscious of it, now you become free of it. Now you can change it.
Right.
That's exactly what happens during, you know, under hypnosis, really. You know,
Yeah.
so
well, particularly someone who has an illness that has defied
Mhm.
Conventional medical treatment,
Mhm.
or if you have weird phobias, because phobias are by
Right.
nature unreasonable.
Right.
And I've learned that they are often connected to past lives.
It is, I could say, almost 100% connected to past lives, you know.
I agree with you 100%.
Whatever phobia you have, yes, something happened in the past.
I had this weird fear of just starving to death, you know. And if my pantry isn't full of food, I'm not comfortable.
So we both share that one. Okay, we both had that issue.
Remembering past lives, there was a number of them where I just plain starved to death and did not live long.
Right.
Or very over and over and over.
Wow.
So that became sort of a fear of mine,
Yes.
which I've largely gotten over. But no, I still have a full pantry. I don't want to starve to death ever again.
But you know,
That's
what is the thing that we as souls, we want to experience anything that this body can offer in this earth. So we might experience being starved, being abandoned, being all types of angles from family members, or being an immigrant, being cast out, anything that a human being can experience.
Right.
We must go through.
Yeah, I suppose so.
That's a really big
things.
subject that you just put out there. It's true. Everything in the universe that you can learn here. And
Exactly.
it's people don't think of it that way. They want to play and they don't want to, you know, they want to live in a utopia. They don't want to do the work on themselves, you know.
Exactly. Yes.
We do not come here to goof off.
Yes.
We're here for a reason. And you become wise, you know, mature, and you're able to operate your life much better, you know, from that wisdom. And then when you leave here, you're leaving with all that wisdom. That goes with you.
Yes.
If you do goof off, you're coming back.
Literally, yeah. So it could be really painful, but guess what? Very healing.
Very much so.
I prove it myself. Like I say, I was like 100 degrees, totally changed. I was a very shy guy. I couldn't even speak on public. Forget it. Couldn't do it, you know. But then my healing came in place, and I connect with myself. That totally changes, because it was showing another past life where I was a teacher, you know, and I had everything. That was during Second World War. I had everything, and I didn't do anything. That was the message. You have the knowledge, you have everything. You wasted it. Now is your time.
Right. How proactive we are in life is important. It's key, because you can't just sit and watch things happen around you. You're part of it. You know, and how you react, your response is as important as what you're observing. And if you're observing something that needs to be righted, you know, anything, it's up to you to decide whether to step in or not. And it's not because you have money or anything else like that. You don't need anything but what you are and who you are to help. That's all you need. You know, some people think, well, I don't have enough money to help these people, blah, blah, blah. No. You can do anything, you know. All you got to do is open your mouth. And here, I'll give you one that I have been munching around in my brain. Okay. We have issues in the world right now where things that are not okay are happening to our people everywhere. And nobody's standing up for what it is. And sometimes it doesn't just take a village, it takes an entire system to, like, everybody at one time to go, nope.
Exactly. Yes.
Stop now. And it's as simple as getting everybody on board. And we're so connected to one another. And the communication, the communion amongst us is imperative. And we're all right now waking up. And it's important that we all understand that it's not just a matter of waking up. It's a matter of becoming the solution.
Yes.
Become active.
That's one of the messages from Source or the members of the Council of the Galaxy. It's like become active, support each other's. It's like you guys can connect not only with screens. It means, through here or through cell phones. No, face to face, connect energetically. Let go of egos, heal yourself.
Right. Exactly.
Nature. It's all these messages wonderful that if you really want to, change the words, change yourself first.
Right.
Then you can,
and you step out. Exactly. I want to bring something up because you used the word council. I have been taught by the ETs, all of them, and those on the other side and everything, that it's what you consider the council, we consider elders, those the wisest ones. They're the ones with all the information. And it's like people ask me all the time, who makes the decisions? Well, everybody's in communion with everybody else in consensus, but sometimes something comes up and somebody needs advice, direction to go, and it's always the wisest of them all that will speak. And you're using the word counsel, and that's okay. That's a good choice of words for you because you're expressing it from your perspective.
It's sometimes when you have humans can understand it too. That's how they go into our level to understand our way of thinking. I don't want
people to become confused and say there's a galactic federation. No, there is not. There are elders, council of elders among them.
I made exactly the same question, Dolly, when they present themselves as the guardians, but then in my mind, because it was the third time they were because I saw a pattern. They contact us. We don't contact them. They contact us during the session. That was first in 2018, and then 2021, and then 2024. So it was like 3 years apart from each other. So on the third time on 2024, I was back in my head like, is there any more of you guys? Because they present 4 of them, right? They describe themselves differently from each one at different extraterrestrials. Yeah. But then my question was like, by the 4th time they present themselves on 2025, that was something that broke the pattern. Like every 2 years, no. Then the next year they present themselves. Then now I present my question like, are you guys only 4 or more of you guys? And they say, well, the numbers is not really important, right? But we are a council and we are 24. And I was like, are you guys the elders or the ancient ones? I said, yes, you can call us that too. We don't care.
Yeah. I'm like,
what? We're the ones who like labels.
Exactly. We're the ones who make labels. Yeah. But they're the higher ones who are more wise in the scale of evolution of beings.
Right. They're the ones that got the answers, baby. And they're in the same boat with us. And they're the ones that we go to for knowledge, to ask.
Yes.
They're good downloaders too. If you're going to get a download, it's downloading from them.
They represent source.
I used to call an elder. I used to call him the Oracle. And I accused him of being an elder. I said, you're an elder, aren't you? And he got really quiet. He said, why is it so important to you? And I said, because I need to know. And he said, no, I'm not going to tell you what I am. I was like, well, thank you so much. He said, you need to know for the relationship I have with you is different than that. Because you will drive me crazy if I say something that I can counsel you all the time. I cannot. I'm not going to. That's not my job with you. Okay, thanks so much. He said, but it's when you're in connection to it, when you open up and you become one with it, literally your consciousness is one with everything. Anything you think is heard and retold back to you. And sometimes they'll download you with stuff that'll take you a month to unpack. It's like, oh my God, there's so much going on here. And it takes a while to, let it work through you, and you take the steps to work on the different things. And I've actually asked 3 questions in my lifetime, just 3. I've never ventured to go for anything else because I was learning so much everywhere else. But I got a message once from one of them that literally grounded me in a way that I can't even begin to describe to you. And I'll tell you what the question was. I was mad one day because I don't like being here sometimes, okay? I get very frustrated. It's like, I want to go home now, okay?
You and a lot of people.
And I said, why did I make this decision? Please refresh my memory, because I am really, really going to walk off without that answer. Okay. And I got nothing for like 24, 48 hours went by. And I'm like thinking, no, they're not going to tell me crap. And then in the middle of the night, one night, I hear this voice, and it literally used my name, Dolly. I was like, okay, who's talking to me? And the voice came back at me and said, you are the one who chose this. It's up to you to go inside and figure out why. I can't tell you why. You must figure that out for yourself, but you did do it. I can absolutely tell you that you chose this. And it's your opportunity to connect to that. Boom. And it was over. I was like, well, thank you so much. I already knew that, but I got my answer, and then I realized that, don't ask stupid questions after that, because I felt stupid for asking that question. And it took me a while to get over myself about it. And now I endeavor only to ask that which I really, really have no bloody clue that I can't figure out.
Well, speaking of questions, I think it's a good time to start bringing in some of the questions from chat. Would that be all right?
Yeah, bring it on.
All questions are welcome. So if you guys have them, now would be the time, because we're probably not going to get to them all. There's quite a few here. And this one's a little out of left field, but I love it anyway. Thank you, Leah Omega. Dolly's often talked about this, how we used to live on Mars. And Leah is asking, may I ask, are most humans from Mars? Has that ever come up in your sessions?
Yes, just once, but not all the humans are coming from us. We're coming from all over the universe.
Thank you. That's
all over.
Yeah, but Dolly, is that true that humans used to live
we're
on
not
Mars?
in that group. We've had many lives all over the universe. There's just a group of us that came out for the last time, and it's infinitely small compared to what's going on in the universe.
Exactly. A lot. Yes. I give you an example. A client asked me to source, for the session. Is like, I want to ask source, how old is my soul? He didn't say he said, how old is as a soul? The answer was, he said, okay, he said, I'm going to give you in time as humans. That's how sources, talk about. He said 650 billion years. So he has been all over the universe. And
we're all in this together. We all started from the same point. We're all part of the same thing. And what you remember is up to you. How you express. And you can be a very, very advanced soul and still walk back and say, I need to go back and redo this. And you do it well,
Yeah. And nobody force you. It's like, I was like, when I hear like this, like theory, like the planet, it's a prison planet. That's coming from fear, from the ego mind.
That's right.
Nobody forced you to incarnate in the planet. No one. I had clients where even they were asking about it. I remember with this case where he was asking about his grandpa. He already passed away, but he was diagnosed with schizo, and he wants to know what was the reason for that schizo. He said, no. So say he wasn't schizo. It's like science doesn't understand yet that these people that label as a schizo, they're able to see through dimensions and talk to other beings. Sometimes you will see like babbling and talking to nonsense. No, they're interacting with other beings.
Yeah,
so somebody can just, separate from this dimension to other ones.
I'll tell you something about medicine. Schizophrenia is an actual brain configuration that they can see on an MRI, or an angiogram or whatever. And they know that the brain is built differently. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the ways that they diagnose you with schizophrenia. Mm-hmm. And it's genetic in that it hits more males than it does females. Mm-hmm. And females, if it's going to hit a female, it's generally right away. Okay. Males take, when they go through puberty, that's when it turns on.
Wow.
And one of the things that they realize is that something's going on because people out of nowhere will either go this way, be mathematical and do numbers and see patterns and do all this. And then there's a smaller group over here that see nothing but evil coming at them and they can't get away from it. And in my mind, when you're on this planet and you're able to see everything, there's a group over there looking at the light that you are, and they'll come after you and these people are not armed to stop it at all. They have no barrier to it. And science is not teaching them what's really going on because they don't
Mhm.
figure it out.
Yeah.
And I've worked with a couple of people who are schizophrenic, and one of the things that I go for in this is that it doesn't matter what you are, who you are, why you are. You have this going on and you're seeing things. I believe that you're seeing them, but it's up to you to deal with it. That's
Yeah.
your lesson in this life.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
true. Yeah.
And we can medicate you and make you stupid, or you can stay sane, whole, and deal with it yourself. And it's a harder road. You're walking down a harder highway. You got
Mhm.
more traffic than we do. Okay, most
Right.
people, and you have to learn to navigate it. And it's like boot camp for the rest of your life boot camp. It's harder for them.
Right.
And helping them understand that is one of the greatest gifts we can give to them. Okay. And frequency, good energy helps them more than anything else on the planet. Meditation for them is key. It's to learn to see that, yes, this is happening. It's a phenomenon in front of me, but how I react to it is paramount.
Exactly. Yes.
If somebody else can see it, and that's what we should be teaching them. And instead, we've called them crazy freaks and drugged them to the point that they can't operate.
Yes.
All right.
And to finish my comment, because that's the point. What I was saying before, and my client asked about it, how are they? Did they incarnate again the planet? They say no, they didn't like the way humans live, so they took off and they now living in another galaxy. So it's up to you as a soul level whether you want to continue or not. So nobody's forcing you.
Right.
All right.
Exactly.
Lots more questions. I'm not sure how you would answer this one from Studio Opinions. Can you make hypnosis work without QHHT? Well, that's the technique you're using. So
Exactly, yes.
I don't know. We already kind of
I have
covered
workshops,
that.
like I say, could work remotely, and it's basically more, doing practicing yourself, the self meditation, and then like I do this like every 4 weeks. Once you do this practice 4 weeks, we can do remotely. You can explore in a past life. You can meet your guides. You can connect with source. You can even go to the Akashic Records. Remember, I'm not an interpreter. I'm not a channeler.
Thank you. Yeah.
I guide you through so you can see it yourself and experience it.
Yeah,
That's so important. I'm so glad you said that.
There are people out there who are hypnotizing people for the wrong reasons. Okay, they don't understand that the power of suggestion. If somebody gives you the authority to hypnotize you, like they think that they're safe with some people, and they're not, because these people don't have the right intention
or education.
Thank you very much. And it's up to us to be very careful about who we allow to suggest to us in a safe environment, because some people have agendas, and like everything else in life, there are people who have something else going on that's not wholesome or good for you. And my advice at this point, I'm giving advice right now, QHHT should be at the top of your ladder. Understanding that is a safe hypnosis therapy.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Very safe.
Yeah. With all due respect, with other techniques that are wonderful too. I have even colleagues that they study with Brian Weiss or the Newton technique. And when they discovered the Dolores Cannon technique, they were like mind blowing, and they adapted right away. They study it, and now they practice it.
Right.
So,
Cool. All right. Here's a question from Central Wisconsin. Duchess, she's wandering around. Okay. Martin, can you hypnotize people over a Zoom video call?
No, it's not permitted through Zoom call, because we cannot be liable of the technology. We cannot trust technology yet. To be very stable. Now we have this conversation. It's very stable. I have other clients like, they might break it down, but it's not recommendable. It has to be in person. Why? Because remember, the session could last an average of 2 to 4 hours under hypnosis. Think about this. It's like when I have people coming into the office, the moment they step into the office, the moment they leave the office, it could be 6, 7, or 8 hours.
And this is only after you've had weeks
Exactly. The day of the hypnosis. Yeah.
Preparation, right?
Yes. That's the day of the hypnosis. It could be that, so it's quite intense. Yeah. But you really, really come for like a resting. You don't have to do anything else, just resting. That's it. That's my whole job. It's I'm the one who's doing all the job, It's like you really go to sleep. Some people don't remember at all, even they're like 3 or 4 hours on the hypnosis, nothing.
Yeah. I absolutely know it helps to have a facilitator, because a lot of people try self-hypnosis and it doesn't work.
No, it has to be first, someone guiding you. But then it would be like the other way, like we say, it's just self-meditation, yes. But once you open that door, yes, now it's like you need to come back for a hypnosis. And I have clients that start developing these psychic abilities, or they have their contact with their own guides or their own or with source, So it's the road for the doors to wide open.
All right, I'm going to pop up another question then. This is from Leah Omega, and I'm not sure if you've ever gotten information on this, but she's asking, where did the Mesoamerican advanced cultures go?
That's a great, even we had already, yes, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to give an example, and it's many of them. There were small communities. I'm going to tell you now. There was a small community from the Mayans before the Spaniards arrived at this exactly time. This small community was, I don't remember how many were, less than 1,000, something like that. But they knew when the Spaniards came over, and the priests or the shamans, they start working on their people. Listen to this, it's very important. They start working on their, forgiving themselves, all their inner conflicts between family members and all that. So they were all tuned when they all start thinking collectively and feeling compassion, love, respect, dignity, and support for each other. Before the Spaniard came, they move into this, what we call the 5D, or the new Earth, which is the same Earth in a different dimension. It's like vibrating at different frequencies, just like the channels, they all radio when you tune in, they just tune into a higher dimension.
I think some of them made it into the populations, though, because I'm going to tell you a secret. When they pulled my DNA, they found Aztec and Mayan in my blood. But I have Spanish and Italian blood in my lines, and they went with the Spaniards and the Italians. Not everybody went. A lot of them didn't go, but there's a few that did, and it shows up in my DNA. And there's a group of us, I was told by geneticists, that are actually Mexican. Into Mexico they went as well. They migrated out. Those that wanted to migrate out did, and they went in a couple of different directions. And it's in the bloodline, so they can actually see it in the DNA. So
and there's wisdom in there. In all these indigenous tribes, there's wisdom because they develop their psych skills too. So yes, there was a group, and many other groups from different parts of the world, they had done it.
Yeah. Now we know that, and Preston's very well aware of this, there are saints who actually walked off, doing exactly what you said. They bilocated off. They took their prana with them and they left. And we have in the Bible, a couple did that as well, and we're still looking for one prophet. He's supposed to be coming back because he never died. He left. Okay.
Maybe whole cultures did that, is what you're saying.
That's what he's saying. There's a whole culture.
Yes. Yeah, many small communities and culture. Yeah, and
Wow, that's very cool. All right, here's a good one for you, Martin. I like this one from Leah Omega. Was your guest ever a shaman?
You guess right. One of my past life, I was a Mayan shaman.
Cool. See, that's why I love you so much. I'm not kidding. There's something about you that just the minute I met you, I was like, really? I know you. I know you way back when.
Leah, you must be psychic. Just saying. That was
that was very ironical for me to find out, because I remember in my teenagehood, because remember I was growing up in Mexico, so I get to see Aztec dancers in Mexico City, where near the temples are, of Teotihuacan, or we call it the Templo Mayor, which is in downtown Mexico, with the all ancient ruins that are, that were digging up, and they're like churches built on top of it from the Spaniards, but some of it they were able to recover, So there's many, Aztec dancers in there, and some of them are doing like, they call it like, the clean you up or like disperse all these negative energy whatever you carry with with different these natural herbs and all that. So I used to laugh at them and like, they're just making a show, whatever.
Yeah.
But then I found I was one of them. Like, what?
Well, this makes perfect sense because from what I understand, as we go through our past lives, we tend to gravitate towards the fields of study that we've really excelled
We
at.
were existing in,
Okay.
already. Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
Very, very
busted.
That's awesome. All right, Dolly, this one's for you. Bark 73. Did you know Mama in your past life, Dolly?
That's a great question.
That is, I'm actually related to Mama. I'm one of the few who are, and I have her DNA in my blood, my DNA.
I'm going to say yes, probably because you tend to reincarnate with the same groups of people.
Exactly. We call that soul group.
It was way, way back because she's over 800. She's like 846 years old right now. And I know I've lived here quite a bit. You know, there was one lifetime that I know I was out, out in the universe. But she says it's, and I agree with her, it was way back. We were mother and daughter then. Mothers and daughters tend to gravitate toward one another. And she was definitely my mama with them. And the very first words out of her mouth is, "It's okay. You're related to me. It's going to be all right. I will be your mama here." I was like, okay. And I was 100% good with that. She did something else too that I find interesting because animals do this, and I didn't realize humans could do it too. Mothers, after their children are born, their sense of smell and their hearing goes way up. A mother can smell her baby. A mother knows her baby's smell, intimately knows her smell, and she can pick her baby out of a room of babies. She knows that's her baby by the smell. ET is so well developed, the tall grays are, that they huff one another. She would literally put her forehead on mine and breathe me in. And I started doing it back and I realized, oh my God, I know you. I recognized something in how she smelled. I had a familiar body odor to her. We jived. And I learned to do that among them. That's how they greet. They put their foreheads together and they inhale. They huff each other. And it's so amazing. The animals do that. That's how moms know.
Well, kind of look at it this way. If we're 500 billion, well, let's just face it, we're kind of immortal.
Yeah.
Gosh, if I had that many lifetimes, I feel like I should probably be a little smarter. but no, I mean, if that's true, and I mean, there's no escaping that it is. We're all connected. We've all been with each other at some point.
At some point, yes. Right?
Yeah. As big as that number is, we all know each other. We're all connected psychically, and we hear each other. We know.
That's 100% true, Preston, because I had clients that I had I don't know them, people who travel to see me, and somehow I feel a connection, right? Sometimes they say, for the session, can you ask, did I met you in another life? Sometimes they do it. Sometimes I do it because I feel that connection. And guess what? Oh yeah, you were together in Portugal in the 15th century. You were in Iceland with this person in the 18th century, or even as
you're on the planet Krypton.
It's like,
yeah.
Okay, I have to put this up. This is not a question, but I would really love this to be addressed. Kira is saying, "I'm so jealous. I haven't been able to learn any of my past lives."
Okay.
There are techniques you can use, Kira. One would be to look at your likes and dislikes. Look at your phobias. Look what you are drawn towards.
There you go.
The types of foods you like, the type of clothes you like.
Yep.
Subjects that you're interested in.
Yes.
Or just go to Martin and dive in.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I mean, there are ways we can learn our past lives.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. Yes.
100%.
So don't be jealous. Take action.
Yes.
Meditate.
Yeah.
That's right.
You can
sit.
Yeah. Do astral projection.
There you go.
Almost guarantee. Do hypnosis and meditate.
Yep.
You have a book of astral projection, so she can read your book and learn something from you.
Yeah, Annie has a little thing she can ask him for. It's a guide to do it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. That is the other way.
Yeah, if anyone wants to learn how to do astral projection, just email me, and here's my email right now. I will send you a little guide.
You have a wonderful book too about it. So that's another step into,
Right.
All right. Let's start.
Mind people.
We've still got, 15 questions. I don't know if we're going to get there because we got about 10 minutes left.
Oh.
Let's try. Studio opinions. Martin, why do people have a life review? Can we avoid it? Life reviews, of course, are.
It's very important. You can have a life review and even planning for the next life. So we all go through the same. What's going to be your next lesson? What did you miss? What was the karma you built on, really? What was the lesson that you missed? How many, I could tell you many sessions that I had with people, they're repeating the same lesson because they didn't get it in the other past lives.
Right.
So it's very important, the life review. Otherwise, you'll end up in the cycle.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think one thing you can do is at the end of each day, review what happened to you, and this will facilitate it for you.
Yeah, empathy is your number one thing.
Empathy, forgiveness, and forgive the others too.
That's right.
So that will keep you up,
All right. No, it's not a prison. I agree. We're not on a prison planet. No. We came here. It might be hard, but all right.
You're the challenge.
Yes.
Another great question from Leah Omega. How do we clean up our thoughts and our minds, empty them out, and rehab our frameworks? So basically,
there's many ways. We call it like tools you can use when you take a shower. When you shower yourself, okay, I'm gonna let go of whatever issues that I had, whatever bad thoughts, whatever anger towards someone or sadness. You can do that. You can wash your hand doing the same. You can breathe, inhaling, and I'm gonna exhale all the guiltiness, shame, whatever. Let it go. Forgive yourself.
That's right.
Most importantly, you forgive yourself because you don't know how to approach to it.
Right.
And the universe give you many options, but this ego mind, it will limit you to see only by reacting, because that's the only thing the ego mind does is surviving. Just survive, not to thrive.
Yeah, make the habit to choose the right way.
Exactly. That's
Make
work on you first.
That's right.
Yes. So that's my
the thought. Stop the thought as it starts to occur.
Right.
Do not think it and then get all crappy about it and then think about later why you thought that. Don't do that. Immediately attack that thought the minute you have it.
Yes.
Choose not to be there.
Yeah. The ego mind, or the belief system, that's what really creates your illness, your worriness, your lack of abundance, anything, because you consider that it's true. And guess what? It's not. I'm going to give you an example. A very simple example. I had this lady where she was suffering from many ailments, right? And when they were showing the couple past lives, then I was asking, the source, what was the cause of her ailments? And the reason why is because she always put other people's happiness first, but she doesn't do it on herself. And that she's holding, on herself.
Yeah.
So her lesson is to be happy, and that's not selfishness, because that was her belief. She thought by being happy, it was being selfish.
Right.
And she considered that's normal. It wasn't.
Well, here's a question that's related to all of what we're just saying. So I'll just add it on to this. What are ways to eliminate self-doubt? There are times I feel connected to source or receive messages from space, but get in my own head and lose those connections from doubt.
That's it. You answer yourself.
Yeah. Bingo! You answered your own question. We don't have to answer.
Just write it down. Do not hesitate. Just write it down. Do not analyze, because that's the ego mind. I'm trying to, did I make myself?
Trust yourself.
It's normal, really. I went through the same, and then some paranormal stuff start happening, I was like, what? But yeah, it's normal from the ego mind when something is not right, you're not get used to. So
meditate, be in touch with who you really are. That helps.
Connect with yourself. Yes.
All right. These are wonderful comments. You guys in chat are awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let me see here. I've got a few.
Tonight.
I'm not sure we're going to get to all of these questions, but I saw one here that was just so wonderful. I really want to get to. Here it is. This is from Jed, our former guest.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. No, that's not the question. Here it is. That was just a compliment. Thank you. So many experiences in life. I feel like I've been many different characters in this one life. Does Martin feel that life experience can be delivered in dreams as opposed to the physical?
That could be, yes, yes. You guys have no idea how much we do what we call dreams. I had a lady where she was very successful, a chef in New York City, and she wrote a book. It was like a bestseller, right? She came to the station not for any ailment; it was for her son. But then she had a question. It's like, I had this teacher from Ireland, but in the dream state, she considered in the dream state that she was somehow transmitting the information.
Is OBE. That's how.
Yes, and he was like, "Did I make this up, or was it? What is that? These dreams are meaning, you know?"
Yeah.
As well, I said, "No, they really are, connecting
You're in
into
communication.
the astral body and having this conversation, and she's learning from him during that state. So she's doing it, and she became successful."
Right. One of the things that I tell people, and this is real important to think about, everybody, when you learn something in that state, when you're lucid, supposedly dreaming, it's really your consciousness is having conversations outside of you. And if the information coming in is valid and you can research and study about what that information is bringing to you, and it backs it up 100%, then this is real. Okay. If you leave your mind in the dark about it and keep questioning it, you're not answering your own questions. So like if you learn something in the astral realms, or through what you consider dreaming, it's really not. You're lucid at night and you're listening to your consciousness do all kinds of stuff. It'll talk to you. Verify the information any way you can by either looking it up, talking to other people, talk to experts, things like that, so that you know that this is valid, concrete truth. And then that gives you the confidence to know that, wow, this is really real. It's not crazy. I'm actually doing this. Okay. That helps.
Yes. To add, I was going to tell you this very briefly. This is very interesting for both of you, even for Preston that does the OBE. I had a client, right, when he brought his question about, it's like he thought he was losing his memory, because he told me, like, every time I want to go to a next room, for example, for my keys, for my car keys, it's like at the minute I go, to the place where I thought I put it, I forgot. It's like, and it takes me. He told me it takes me like 2 or 3 seconds to, okay, I'm here for the keys. All right. He has like periodically these events. So that was my question for Source. His question for Source, and Source, the answer was very interesting. It's like, no, he's not losing his memory. He's what he considers those 2 or 3 seconds. He's having a meeting with his guides and coming back and adjusting to his mind.
That's
what he considers 2, 3 missing seconds. No, he's just doing it, and it takes in minutes or hours.
That's funny. I used to be accused of spacing out when I was little. I was just kind of there. Probably
that could be it.
I was probably astral projecting.
Yes.
We're almost out of time. I want to squeeze in a few more questions because Studio Opinions asked this twice, actually. I'm going in order, guys. This is a good question. Martin, what happens to those friends and family from a past life 1,000 years ago or more? Do we lose them through reincarnation, by reincarnation?
No. Like I say, like we say before, all of us, most of us are in a group souls. Sometimes we exchange or characters, as you say, mother to daughter, or father or spouse, and it's certainly most of the time are really a big soul groups, even friends, even what you consider enemies. They were your family in another time. Yes, we always play in that part until one gets graduated. Some people are really graduated and you come back to play as the villain.
Yeah.
Because you need that lesson. Sometimes it could be very tough, yes. And sometimes they don't want to do it, but they're volunteers, so they don't create karma. We found out that too. In some cases, not all of them, just a few cases, but it's possible.
All right, we really have to wrap this up, but I'm gonna ask a couple of questions if you could answer them very quickly. Studio Opinions, have you ever tried to merge multiple personalities?
Merge the ways. No, we always tapping. Like Dolly says, sometimes we tap. She mentioned something at the Viking life. Yes, sometimes, because that's what that was another question for Source that I did on my own. Did the soul preserve or builds a personality? And it says yes, in a certain way. Yes, it retains certain characteristics. And yes, and sometimes you learn it from certain past life because it's part of your evolution. So
All right.
yes, we all build into different
I
experiences.
wish we could dive into that more, but we don't have time. One real quick question from Human Data 8. Does Martin also experience the channeling trance after a session has ended with a client? Like, are you getting messages as well as?
Not really in trance, but yes, especially for the council members. Yes, I had that. They talked very briefly to me, in very few occasions. Even before when they contact us, really, I didn't know that voice that came through. It was very strong. It wasn't my voice. I was like, what? Like, what was that? I'm going crazy. But no, then a year later,
when you hear it, know. It's like,
like just Preston experienced it too.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. We really have to wrap it up. We pushed it a little later than we normally would, but you were so interesting, Martin.
Thank you so much.
I could talk to you for hours. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Namaste. We love you dearly. You guys' support means a lot. Thank you, Becky. And just lovely folks there in chat. So glad you could join us. Until next time, I think we're going to do a Q&A next week, but we do have some more guests lined up. All right, Dolly, bring us out.
All righty. Thank you, Martin. I love you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Back again. Stay online with us. Don't leave yet. Thank you, everyone, for coming to visit us on the Light Gate tonight. I hope that we answered some questions for you, and I hope that you walk away from this with more questions, that you got some answers. That is our goal. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast. We're coming to you live from YouTube, Facebook, Roku, and Rumble. And I want y'all to have a really great week. Go for it. Anything you want. You take care of you and then help others. We love you. Night, night.